Me.
Let's start with your own human rights situation dashboard, which recorded over 326,000 complaints in just 1 month, with violations of the right to life topping the list. How much is this evidence of a nation in systemic human rights distress?
Yeah, the situation on violations is really worrisome. The possibilities are this. The Commission has created a lot of awareness about rights. So what we are seeing is that people now know when their rights are violated and that they can go somewhere and report. In addition to that, of course, the security situation is there, staring everybody in the face. You know, a lot of communities are under siege. The other time I went to Maiduguri, and for farmers to go to farm, they had to be escorted to go to the farm, and so on and so forth. So the situation is really there, and we keep hoping that the security agencies will rise to their beat and be able to stem these conditions even before the election, because in this kind of situation, it is going to be very difficult to have a free and fair elections.
And every month, the commission, which you head, releases these alarming statistics. But what many Nigerians want to know is, beyond documenting abuses, what tangible difference is the National Human Rights Commission making in the lives of ordinary Nigerians?
You know, a body like the National Human Rights Commission has some duties. First of all, we have to document, because if you don't document this, probably nobody will know things like this are happening. The other one is to try and find remedy as much as possible. However, your ability to find remedy will also depend on the resources you have. For instance, we are in the 36 states. We have offices in the 36 states. And that's one office in a state. We are supposed to be in all the local governments, but we are in one state capital in the state. So that automatically influences how many people can even reach you to seek for.
Yeah, but you're still talking about documentation.
Yes,
I'm talking about remedies.
That's the point.
I mean, the ones you've been able to document. Never mind if you're not in all local governments. You're somewhere.
I'm going to come to that.
Yeah. What are you doing about those?
Now, for instance, the kind of cases you have are somebody reports, I have been unlawfully arrested. And you have to assist to go to the police station to bail the person, to make sure the person doesn't use money to get bail. You have somebody, you have children that are on the streets, that are not able to go to school, abandoned children.
Yes.
You have to see, can you talk to Ministry of Education or something like that? You get these children out of the streets. Is there enough shelter? There may not be enough shelter. You're talking of issues of domestic violence. You start mediating to see whether there can be an amicable settlement or whether the police can prosecute. These are the kind of cases that come. So they're not things like magic wand, which is,
and there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of it.
So you must be tearing your hair out every day.
Exactly. And in some cases, you start like issues concerning families. Along the line, maybe the victim says, oh, I don't want to go on again. Maybe he's under pressure from the pastor or from the traditional ruler or from the big uncle and so on and so forth. So these are the kind of violations we are talking about.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. But let me turn to Peter Obi's very serious allegation. Here is a leading opposition figure, former presidential candidate, current presidential candidate, publicly saying he believes his life is under threat. I mean, he's not a guy to be trifled with. He's a former governor. He's somebody a lot of people respect enough for him to have come third in the presidential election in 2023. He says publicly that he believes his life is under threat and that he may not even be alive to contest the 2027 presidential election. Whether or not one agrees with him politically, that is an extraordinary claim. Does a statement of that magnitude automatically trigger the attention of the National Human Rights Commission?
Certainly. When I read that news in the morning today, I listened to it in the morning today, I had to call my team and say, what should be our response to this? Because, of course, the issue of opposition being able to have space to do their bit is a legitimate right. And there's a general issue about freedom of information and the civic space being, shrinking, especially, as the election is coming close. So the statement made by P2B is a very worrisome statement. And for every person who means well for this country, we should take it seriously.
Yeah, but your commission.
So for the commission,
will the commission independently seek to establish whether there is any basis for Mr. P2B's fears, or do you wait until a formal complaint is lodged before you act?
We don't have to wait until a formal complaint is lodged. So what we want to do is we need to now issue an advisory going forward on what the government and everybody should do so that every contestant will have a feeling that they have the space to do their bit properly. It is difficult to investigate a matter like this because he has made that statement.
Well, because you work for the government and you simply can't turn around and put a gun to their heads, can you?
Yeah, it is difficult because I don't also know if we invite P2B to come and give specifics of the allegation. He said his businesses are being attacked. He gave one example of his car being locked at the airport and so on and so forth. However, what we intend to do is to give an advisory that going forward, please, all the contestants must be given the space.
Yeah, but are you going to investigate his claims and his allegations? You said you don't know if you invite him. Have you invited him?
What I'm saying is, in a situation like this, these are some of the suo motu cases. He hasn't complained to us. He has complained to every Nigerian. So our approach to a case like this is we now issue an advisory, both for government and the players, on how to make sure that going forward that we have a free space for everybody to do his politicking.
Yeah, but that suggests
without fear.
That suggests that you actually believe that his allegation is something that can be that is not as crucial.
Is serious.
Well, I mean, I'm wondering whether you're going to investigate it and whether you're going to then come up with your own findings and say yes, because I mean, this guy is a former governor. He's a presidential candidate.
Well, if he complains to us, we will do that.
Right.
What I'm saying is
so unless he complains to you, you will not. A statement of that magnitude does not automatically trigger a reaction from an investigative reaction from the National Human Rights Commission.
The levels of reaction it will trigger are different,
right,
than if he complains directly to us. Now he has made a general statement. It is for us to see, is this part of shrinking the civic space, allowing the opposition to feel free to go out and ask for voters and so on and so forth.
Well, the man says he might not be alive in 2027. That's a serious allegation. I mean, you're talking around the issue.
The issue of being alive is a delicate issue. Which
it's an allegation that is made. You're a human rights commission that is supposed to...
Is an inference.
I mean, you're already interpreting it and you haven't investigated it.
No, he didn't say an attempt has been made on his life. He said he's not sure of being alive. He didn't say I've been attempted on...
Well, the implication of that is that there is something that has caused him the amount of... And he was very specific that the government is coming after him. I mean, he was very specific in that clip. So it's a very specific allegation and it's a very specific charge. And what I'm wondering is what you, as the Nigerian Human Rights Commission, is going to do about that.
So what we want to do is to issue a directory,
right,
on how the civic space can be managed right now so that he doesn't lose his life, so that he feels free to do his work, and at the end of the day, he will not lose his life.
Well, you know, some Nigerians would argue that politically sensitive cases, which this one clearly is, are precisely where institutions like yours are expected to demonstrate courage and independence. Is the National Human Rights Commission sufficiently empowered and sufficiently fearless to investigate allegations that may implicate powerful state actors if the evidence points in that direction?
Certainly. We've done that over and over again. You remember the Reuters allegations against the military for committing about 10,000 abortions in the Northeast, and for all the attack on women and so on and so forth. We conducted an investigation. Every single military officer in this country, from the Minister of Defense now, who was the Chief of Defense Staff, for the Chief of Naval, all of them appeared before that panel and they gave evidence. And at the end of the day, we were able to show that really the allegations had no basis.
Right.
And that saved the country, because if the commission had not done that investigation, ICC would have come in under the complementarity principle, which says that if a country does not show the political will to do such a level of investigation, then ICC will take over. So because the commission was able to do that creditably, and in fact, Reuters International that wrote that allegation, we invited them, they couldn't come. And since we published our findings, they have not been able to utter a word, showing that they had no answer to our investigation.
Well, let's move away from Peter Obi, and let me ask you about the disturbing case from Delta State. That chap called God's Power Ikedi was allegedly stripped, assaulted, and publicly flogged by community leaders over a Facebook post in which he apparently complained about abandoned road projects. I mean, we saw the video, we can probably see it now, but Amnesty International condemned it almost immediately as a grave assault on freedom of expression. Yet many people noticed that there was no immediate public intervention from the National Human Rights Commission. I mean, why? Isn't public silence from the country's premier human rights institution, especially in a case attracting national attention, capable of sending the wrong message that some abuses simply don't attract sufficient urgency?
Now, we have standards operating procedures.
Yeah.
We
Well, you can see the video. I mean, it's there.
I agree.
Everybody can see the man being walloped.
I agree. We have standard operating procedures. We don't behave like civil society groups. We have a standard of practice. For instance, immediately this happened, we have sent a directive to our office there
in Delta State. Right.
To go investigate and give us a report. Once that report comes now, then we act on the report and we can make a statement. We cannot just see
of course. I mean, it's like any legal thing, you'd have to investigate.
This is an institution.
But beyond issuing statements, I mean, you said you issue a statement.
Because once the report is positive,
right,
they will request that the Commissioner of Police in that state must prosecute this case.
Okay.
And we'll follow it through.
Because I'm wondering what practical action you can take.
That is it.
Right.
We'll follow it through, go to court, make sure that...
So you can compel investigation.
Of course.
Right.
Of course,
okay.
Certainly.
And you can recommend prosecution.
Definitely.
Right. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. Are you becoming concerned at all that Nigerians increasingly fear expressing political opinions? I mean, you mentioned that at the outset, the shrinking space, whether online or offline, not because of the law, but because of alleged intimidation from state actors. I mean, is Nigeria, because you talked about the suggestion of shrinking space, is Nigeria, based on your knowledge as somebody who heads the Human Rights Commission, is it actually witnessing a shrinking civic space where criticism of authority increasingly carries personal risk?
Of course, that is the picture we are seeing. If you look at our dashboard, that is the picture that is coming. And that is why we instituted this dashboard. Because these were things that go on before and people don't know.
Yes, that's an important thing you've done there.
So
with the
yes,
dashboard,
because
for sure.
the dashboard is an accountability mechanism to call out the people who are involved to take necessary action. So the shrinking, the civic space, of course, the space was enlarged by social media, where everybody on your laptop, on your telephone, you can publish. And you cannot, there's no way you can regulate what people can publish. We have published an advisory which shows how the shrinking space, how the civic space is being affected, and how people should be able to practice so that there won't be so much confrontation. Now, the civic space is really under attack. A lot of journalists are also under attack. We have formed a team that is looking critically at the issue of attack on journalists. We have joined cases where journalists have also gone to court to assert their rights because of intimidation arising from that. It is not a good thing. It is not a good thing. We have also fought with cases in the National Assembly where they wanted to pass legislation, to worsen the already shrinking space, and we were able to convince the Parliament not to pass those laws. So we are doing a lot of things. Now we have developed a protocol to investigate any allegation involving attack on a journalist.
Right.
We are working with some media organizations. These are all the kind of things we are putting in place to make sure that people are able to express themselves. And also, if you disagree with anybody's publication, you take him to court. You have your day in the court. The strategy or the solution is not to use political power to kind of prevent people from expressing themselves.
Right.
That shouldn't be the case.
Okay. Well, let me just say this before we continue, that we're expecting the governor of Oyo State to make a statement about the release of the school children in the state, children who were taken from the Orire local government, abducted, and they've now been released today. And as soon as that begins, we're going to take it live. Yeah, that we're looking at pictures now from Oyo State as they wait for the governor to come through. When he does come out, we will carry it live. So just to let you know that we will interrupt whatever it is we're doing here and go live to that, because that's the biggest story of the day right now. And a story that is very heartening, the release of all the school children who were abducted from that Orire local government in Oyo State. Let me continue with you. The political temperature is already rising, as you yourself suggested, ahead of 2027. What is it that worries you most from a human rights perspective?
The apathy it is going to generate. Because if you ask most people on the streets now about their voters' card, they're not interested.
Is it the apathy or the violence?
Yeah, because of the tension. People are feeling, why should I get myself involved in this election? So it is going to discourage people from participating in the process. That is what is going to happen at the end of the day. And you know what that means. If people don't participate, the few that participate will not decide for the rest of all of us. So, in fact, we are trying to see how we can start. Like during the last election, we carried out a project mobilizing voters to vote. There is need for that kind of situation again.
And you see that as a human rights issue?
Of course, the right to participate, to choose your leaders is a basic right in the Constitution, and that is the beauty of democracy. If people are not involved in selecting their leaders, is a problem because there will be a credibility issue. There will be difficulty if people don't feel that they are not part of choosing the leaders. That means obedience is going to be a problem. Law enforcement is going to crack down, and so on and so forth. But When people believe that a government is their own, followership goes,
Indeed.
administering is easier, and government support is overwhelming.
So what warning would you give political actors today to ensure that Nigeria does not enter another election cycle with citizens afraid to speak, to organize, or to participate in the process?
You see, the way politicians are going on, at times I wonder whether they understand that there could be consequences. You see, when you push people to the extreme, you don't know how they react. Politicians are going on as if no matter how we do it, nothing will happen. And I don't think so. Something can happen. We may have been lucky all these years, but how long are we going to be that lucky? I just came back from Rwanda last week, and I went to the museums and things like that. And after going through all that, I had a sobering moment. And some of those signals are all over, and nobody is taking it serious. So my advice to politicians, please cool down the temperature. Respect the right of others, respect the right of your colleagues. For the government in power also, allow the civic space to thrive, because it will also help you in your own credibility. You know, so because if this goes on and the tension keeps rising, nobody knows how it is going to play out. It's not like 1 + 1 is equal to 2. It could turn out that 1 + 1 will be equal to 4. And then we'll be engulfed in something we wouldn't know how to go out. And let us not forget, the SARS protests happened in this country.
There's the NSARS.
The NSARS protests. Right. Now, the youth are all here. This is a country that almost 65% of the population are made up of youths. So that has its own positive and also its own negative. So a situation where there is general disgruntlement, there's general tension before the elections, could snowball into something. If the youth in this country decide to go on rampage, you can't control it, because the numbers will overpower everybody. Let us not get to that situation. So I urge all politicians to please, in the interest of saving this country, to play it down and allow a free space for everybody to feel free in his fatherland.
Good advice. So if an ordinary Nigerian watching tonight said to you, I know my rights, but I don't believe anyone can protect them, what would your answer be?
Please trust us, come to us, and let us join you to make sure that your right is protected. Your right can be protected with the National Human Rights Commission.
Okay, on that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. Chief Tony Ojukwu is the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, and he is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Good to see you again, and thanks for coming in. And thank you for your contribution to the Arise town hall that was held barely 24 hours ago, because you were one of the panelists there. Actually,
I'm very passionate about state police, because in the panel, I headed the presidential panel on Special Anti-Robbery Squad in 2018-2019. That was one of my recommendations on state police.
Well, it seems to be coming to fruition.
I'm so happy about it.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.